She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're very blessed that you decided to join us today. Today, you are going to be inspired, I promise. Today is going to be one of those days where you look at your sets of circumstances and you go, I think I'm going to make it. I think I'm going to be okay. Have you ever been in a situation where just everything in your life, like your relationships are just like, meh, even some of them being toxic, business is not profitable, just seems like nothing's going right, and you have sickness in your body? Have you ever been in a place where it just seems like the storms of life are just swirling all around you and you kind of even wonder if your life is ever going to get any better? Well, that's exactly where Carla Mayfield found herself when she first heard about the website DaniJohnson.com. Now, here on the Dani Johnson Show, we love to bring you stories as well as strategies and content and even help to develop some skills inside of you to where you can define success for you and live your life by design instead of by default. We often take on what society has told us success is, and we try to live according to what they say instead of what we desire for it to be, and really finding out, who am I? What is my desires? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What really matters to me? How can I live my life according to what I was made for instead of according to what society is telling me to live by? Because, they've got a reason for telling you success looks like big houses, it looks like nice cars, and for some people it does. And that, it looks like having tragic, toxic relationships, because oftentimes that comes with the package when you do not know how to balance out your life and live it according to what your heart's desire is instead of according to what somebody else's heart's desire is. So you're going to learn some great things here today. We've got 2 powerful testimonials today where we're going to dive in, pick it apart, find out maybe you're in the same place where these 2 individuals were, and then how did they climb themselves out of those circumstances. So Carla Mayfield from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. Well, you look gorgeous today on Skype.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so tell us where your life was before getting started with the website DaniJohnson.com.
So as I was just listening to you, and I was thinking, that sounds like my story. I had struggled with depression my whole life. I had tried to kill myself the first time when I was 13, and I was that person who, when I was around other people, everyone loved me and they felt good around me, but I would leave and cry myself to sleep every night. And it's almost hard to take myself back there, because the last year and a half of taking your courses and the training, that's so not my normal anymore.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's incredible. God is so good. My life is 180 degrees different, but I had such anxiety and fear about my future. I had insomnia. I'd had insomnia since I was probably 10. Mm-hmm. I had gone through, rounds and rounds of counseling and on antidepressants and sleeping pills. And I just couldn't keep it together. And I created all kinds of chaos and drama from those root problems that I had. I hated myself.
What would drive you as a young person to hate yourself?
That is a good question, as all of the ones that you ask always are. We grew up in a very religious setting, so very legalistic. And as your listeners will find out when they take some of your training with Jen, that first session the first steps I went to, I actually cried through the whole Jen session, because I was, and I know this is for the listeners who don't know, now you're going to want to get the content, but the personality type that I was exactly opposite from the way that I was raised to be. And so
So what were you raised to be? Now hold on, let me just like pull someone else into the conversation here, because there's someone that's driving in their car or they're listening for the very first time. They're like, what is GEMS? GEMS is actually a personality course. It is unlike any other personality course that is out there that is just all verbal. It's a very visual experience to where you learn how to truly identify based on how someone is dressing, how they talk, what their interests are, their habits, how they actually live out their daily life. And so the GEMS training actually shows you what these 4 different types of GEMS are and how to communicate with those GEMS. And oftentimes, a lot of times, especially people from the religious world, it's very interesting to me because I've kind of noticed this trend where people who came from a very, very strict religious background, that they were kind of forced to be a personality that they weren't. Now, it does happen in families that are not religious as well. You know, there's a certain personality that is incredibly organized and, you know, everything's about facts and figures and there's no gray area and you know, their closets are organized. The dishwasher have to be a certain way. And sometimes when you have parents that have that personality and they do not understand that not everyone was created the same way, and they do not understand that, you know, that they maybe have a kid that is creative and loud and, you know, always testing the boundaries, and they live outside of a box, whereas that other personality, which we call an emerald, the organized one, lives inside of a box. And so they try to force their child to be like them. They try to force their child to live inside the box, even though that other personality, which we call a sapphire, inventors, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs come out of being a sapphire, as well as emeralds as well, but just a different path of getting themselves there. So anyway, so you're saying that you grew up in a very strict religious household, and they kind of forced you, trained you, molded you to be something that you weren't. What was that personality that they molded you to be?
So it was, and it wasn't just my parents. It was like my extended family, everybody, our churches, everybody. I realized when I sat in the sapphire section that my whole life I was trying to be a good little Christian girl would be a pearl emerald. I'd be loving and listening and kind, and I'd be organized. And I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
And I realized from your teaching in that, Dani, that all of us together, the 4 different types, I guess the revelation that I had in that session was that together we show the heart of God.
Yes.
And I went home and I actually spent the next couple months repenting to God that I'd been at war with the way He had made me. Yes. And I started using those gifts of motivation and encouragement and just loving people. And it comes like breathing for me.
Yeah.
And through that, relationships opened up where I now get fed. And I used to feel like my whole life, I feed so many other people, but nothing comes back for me.
Yes.
And I got so bitter and hardened from that. And it's been so liberating to forgive and to just let it go and just do what God intends me to do, what He created me to do. And to love other people how He made them to be. It's amazing.
Yes. It takes the pressure off, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It really does. Yeah. And it is a sad thing. And I find it so interesting that you were repenting to God for trying to be someone that you weren't. Yeah. That's really awesome to me that you kind of, it makes me want to cry. You kind of felt this responsibility that, hey, He made you a certain way and you stuffed that design. You tried to trash that design. You even tried to kill that original design.
I know.
And no wonder you were depressed most of your life. Yeah. You should have been depressed most of your life because you were not accepted in the original design that God made you. Mm-hmm. And instead, you were trying to perform to be someone that you thought would get acceptance. And that's a prison cell. That's a prison cell. God. When we're trying to perform to gain acceptance from others, there's no joy in that. In fact, what is in there is the fear of man. Mm-hmm. And it's also the idolatry of man. Because that's where we're trying to get all of our satisfaction from. That's where we're trying to get all of our recognition and our reason for being alive. And we can't get our reason for being alive from man, ever. Ever. It can never happen. We can only get it from our God, who is the one that designed us. And it's so powerful. Okay, so what has happened in your life as a direct result of literally getting healed emotionally, coming into learning who you really are, what the strengths of that are? And to be honest with you, because you were trained with so much of those organized things, that actually benefits you greatly. Because one of the greatest weaknesses of a sapphire is total disarray, complete disorganization, and now you, so it's not all bad. You know what I mean? That you, and again, that was your own decision to try to gain acceptance from people by being a different person. That was your own decision. Someone else didn't put that on you. The environment cultivated those decisions, but and cultivated the lies in your head that said, I am not acceptable. I am not lovable with being me. Those were lies that came into your head that you chose to believe. And now that you've disregarded those lies, what is the result in your life as this new revelation and living out being truly who you are?
I think the biggest, the word to describe it would be freedom. I didn't realize I was in so much bondage. I didn't know what it felt like to be free. Yeah. And so I, as one of the other things you teach, Dani, the gratitude journal and sprouts. So I love how your listeners are going to now say, what is this? But I started doing that about a year and a half ago when I heard you say that at First Steps. And I wrote so continually in my gratitude journal daily, like morning and night, that's awesome. Over and over and over those themes and threads that I'm so grateful for this freedom. I did not know how it felt. So it was hard to even know what I was missing out on. And the side effects, in understanding that in order for me to honor emeralds and the personality types where people like to have a phone call back and have an email, I started honoring my clients in that way. That's awesome. Understanding that that's how they're made. Yeah.
Yes. Versus resenting that. You know what I mean? Versus resenting that they wanted it a certain way. Now, when you get to walk in your own skin and you get to walk in your own identity of what you were made to be, you no longer are resentful for other people's identity. Not resentful for other people's ways and how they would like things done with them, for them, or in the case, as in business, it really benefits you to serve them in the way that they receive it. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more with Carla right after this.
Carla's story has been powerful, but her biggest breakthrough is coming up next on The Dani Johnson Show.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Go to DaniJohnson.com to find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to plugging into First Steps to Success, I was a depressed, hopeless, suicidal drug addict. I had no vision for my life. I absolutely hated people, hated myself. I felt shackled by my debt, and I had toxic relationships. Since plugging in, I've been drug-free for almost 18 months. I paid off nearly $14,000 worth of debt in 14 months. I have completely restored my relationship relationships with my friends and my family. I have a vision for my life now, and I'm actually live and not exist anymore. So I don't know if you have debt or not, or if your life's going perfectly the way you want it to go. But if not, I highly recommend you get registered today for the next first steps to success.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, we were just lost. We had no hope and light at the end of the tunnel, and we were drowning in debt. After coming to First Steps to Success and plugging into DaniJohnson.com, our income has doubled. We have paid off over $76,000 of debt in just 45 months. My husband and my communication skills have just raised us through the roof, and my husband has cut back his hours, making more income. If you want results like these, you better get to First Steps to Success.
I have been plugging into Dani Johnson for the last 8 years, believe it or not. And people say, why so long? Well, because there's a lot to do in life, and it has changed every area of my life. My business has exploded, my spiritual life has been unmatched, and my relationship with my wife and my family has just been fantastic. We've paid off over $200,000 of debt in just 2 years. We're debt-free, and I just could not be happier. But if you want to change any area of your life, whether it's your business, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your financial situation, or getting out of debt, or your spiritual life, I would tell you, you cannot afford to miss First Steps to Success. It's just been a blessing to me and my family. So I really invite you to just get online and get your ticket to the next First Steps to Success. Thank you very much.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
You know, sometimes you can be acting like someone that you're not. And why? Because someone your whole life, or maybe an environment that you've been around your whole life, the environment could be church or school or family or even work, that has told you who you are is not acceptable. It's exactly where Carla found herself when she first came out to First Steps to Success a year and a half ago. So many people find themselves in that same exact situation. I know I did. You know, our environments tell us that we're just not acceptable. Now, I know that right now you might be thinking, well, Dani, what does that have to do with success? It has everything to do with success. I promise you. It really does. Because when you don't know who you are, you don't know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, you have spent most of your life, like I did, trying to be somebody that I thought would be acceptable, trying to be somebody that I thought others would love, that if I act a certain way, if I perform a certain way, if I do things a certain way, then people are going to be happy with me, they'll love me, they'll not hurt me. That was just a big lie. Well, Carla was just sharing her story. Gosh, Carla, what an incredible breakthrough out of coming out of that first steps to success that happened to be in Austin, Texas. I remember seeing you for the very first time there. We had 1,200 people in the room, and you really stood out to me, that event. So you came home out of that event realizing you'd been someone that you weren't. You started to step into your own shoes. You just told me on the break that you've lost 42 pounds since that time, which is amazing. Congratulations. That's a huge, huge accomplishment. But right away in your career, your business life began to change, and you no longer were resenting other people's personalities, because now through First Steps to Success, you learned the different personalities that you were working with, and you started to serve your clients according to what their personality was, instead of fighting against it. Instead of saying, well, why can't you just be like this? Why don't you want it just the way I want it? But you came to the understanding of like, hold on a second. This is this person's personality, and they like to receive things a certain way, certain style of communication, and you began to do that. So what happened in your business?
Well, I stopped feeling like clients were attacking me when they were just wanting to gather information.
Wow. That is huge. Now, hold on a second. I am pretty confident it wasn't just your clients that you felt were attacking you when they were asking questions.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah, this was something in your whole life, right? So so when people would ask you questions because you did not understand a certain personality that always asks questions and they want detailed answers, or just send them a link to where they can do their own research, you instead would get defensive.
Yeah, I felt like because I hated myself so much, I felt like, well, I was so harsh on myself. I felt like other people must be too. And by getting myself out of the way, and Dani, you had really challenged me at another event last year that I had a misplaced identity, one of the little open-ended questions that I sent in. And it hit me hard because I knew exactly what that meant for me.
Wow.
And so I really worked on getting myself out of the way, like slaying ego and pride. And just whenever I had those feelings of, oh, I'm so horrible, I hate myself so much, I would just, by sheer will, because I believed in what you were teaching, and I saw other people that had results I wanted, like just sheer will, I prayed through that and I made it through those things. And it's opened up a whole new world. My father and I own a business together, and both of us, he's been coming as well, we're able to sell to people that we never could in the past because we were intimidated by them.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like so many things. And I understood I was working 80 to 100 hours a week and saw how wrong that was. And so I cut my hours by half. Dad cut his down. He's almost a quarter now because we'd like to head into semi-retirement. We're making twice as much personally. I hired an assistant, and our whole life changed, not just for us. Like, it sounds like just for us, but it changed for our clients too. Our processes became much more streamlined and our jobs run smoother. We really changed a lot of the structure of what we did, the way we were running our business.
Yep.
And I went from feeling so chaotic and so stressed out all the time, like I dreaded the phone ringing.
Wow.
I don't have any chaos or drama or stress at all anymore. Like once in a while, but it'll be something that isn't unforeseen. Like, which is supposed to happen once in a while.
Versus every single day of your life.
Yeah.
My gosh, that is incredible. It's amazing what happens when our identity is in the right place, when we know who we are and we know who other people are, and how much simpler life becomes. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Carla's story has been powerful, but her biggest breakthrough is coming up next on The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
You would think this would get easier. It doesn't. My name is Mia, and this is my awesome husband, Tony Gray. We're both from Maryland. Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, we were beyond a mess. Probably an earthquake would be a better description. We were very young and married in high school. I was pregnant at 13. I was abandoned, abused, often turned to drugs and alcohol. And we just didn't know what to do. We knew how to put on a facade and come out before people. We worked long hours. He was never, ever home, and he was losing relationships with me and the kids. We were at the divorce attorney, ready just to quit. We didn't know a way out, and our debt, we just hung ourselves, it seems, every day, just going to work, spending, and then there was debt. We didn't know what to do, but after filing bankruptcy twice, you would think, well, you know what to do then. Well, we didn't. We kept making stupid decisions, and we were really just ready to quit. We were ready to give up, and we didn't see that there was any hope. I was actually depressed a whole lot, and since we got married so young, we wanted to be like the rest of our family and be divorced, because we were the only ones that were married for a long period of time. We lost several kids, but God blessed us with that, and after plugging in with DaniJohnson.com, life changed forevermore.
It's funny, I heard Dani say, talked about Donald Trump, and that was my way of life. He did it. He was a multi-millionaire. He filed bankruptcy multiple times, but I knew that wasn't the answer. I was working more hours, had a 6-figure income, and found we were in more debt. But since plugging into War in Debt, in 36 months, we paid off $126,000. To me, it's all about giving back. And my wife has the biggest heart that I know, so it was her mission to not only get the information for us, but to share it in our community. So we had hundreds of people come to classes, but we had 92 people take action. And of those 92 people, in 34 months, they paid off $3.6 million.
Our marriage has been fully restored. Our children are absolutely amazing. They all own their own businesses. We raise 6 amazing kids every single day. And I can't tell you, without the DJU curriculum, without all of the products, we came at the beginning and we were piecemealing it, but that didn't work for us. You know how Dani says when you get the recipe, you need to get all the ingredients and not try to figure out, should I get the egg, should I get the milk? You just get it all and you follow directions. We follow directions and our life has changed forevermore, and we won't go back, we're just going ahead. So without further ado, help us bring back to the stage America's favorite millionaire, Miss Dani Johnson.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So if you have been lost, I promise you, keep listening. Carla was so lost. Her identity, she did not know who she was, she didn't know who other people were, and has turned it all around through gaining the understanding at First Steps to Success. You, Carla, just finished telling me that you've cut your hours in half. You were working 80 to 100 hours a week. You and your dad are business partners in a business where you do residential remodeling. And you now are able to serve clients that you could never get before because you were intimidated by them. So you're closing deals that were unclosable before. This understanding of who you are, this healing that you've had happen inside of you, and the understanding of other people. And what's so funny is that most people think they understand themselves and they think they understand other people, but their life is filled with that stress and chaos that you once had that you're like, I don't have that anymore. What do you say? First of all, I know something else about you that I think is important. You were saving money for your first purchase of your first house. When you came to your first steps to success, something crazy and dynamic spontaneously erupted at that First Steps in Austin, Texas. And out of nowhere, a group of people started to rally for the extreme poor. And they caught the vision the night before, actually, and not much happened the night before. But the next day, there was this eruption that had happened, and I think it was in 3 women who just said, hey, they just literally, like in the middle of the seminar, it was 1,200 people, they just started shouting this out. Hey, Dani, we want to put up a house. We want to buy a house for the extreme poor if someone else is willing to match that. And it's only $5,200 to buy a house for the extreme poor. And we're talking about extreme poor, like no food, no water, no shelter to speak of. They have no work. They have no jobs. They barely have, one piece of clothing on their bodies for themselves and their kids. And sometimes they don't even have that. I mean, it's a really bad situation. I've been there on the ground with these families, and it's a tragedy. And so these women just gathered together and said, we've pulled funds, we've got $5,200, we're looking for someone to match it. And so this thing just erupted out of nowhere. And Carla happened to be there. And Carla, I remember you coming forward and saying, I have been saving a down payment for my first purchase of my first home. And it turned out to be exactly $5,200. And in Canadian money, it was over $7,000. And tell us what you said you were going to do.
I heard the call and saw about these houses changing generations.
Yes.
And these little girls, walking to get water, and men would take them. And understanding the pain for the men, that they couldn't be men, so they would have a life or or live with a woman and they'd have babies and then they'd leave because they were struggling with their self-esteem.
Yep.
And that these houses were going to be deeded to the mothers so that there was stability in families and generations would be changed. And I had gotten to the point when I came that I created such chaos in relationships closest to me that horrible things had been said about me. And that's why I was suicidal when I came. And I was sitting there and I had a health problem that was killing me as well from the stress and working so much. And I was sitting there and thinking, my whole life has been so self-centered and I don't need a house. You can see this beautiful house where I'm sitting. I house sit for this amazing couple. They travel the world for fun, and I've been here for 10 years, and they're like parents to me.
Wow.
God had been so good to me through all this, and I was sitting there thinking, who am I to not do this, to give my money to the poor? And I believe when the Bible says, and you take care of the widows, and you had read those scriptures, Dani, so it just... in that black place where I was, it was like a tiny little ray of light. It was like a flicker of a flame, and I knew that it was true. And it scared me. I was shaking when I went up to tell. I could hardly hold the microphone.
Yes.
But God honored that so much. And my life is so completely different today.
Yes.
I am so grateful. I can't even express how I came from such a black place, and it created something in my heart for those people, and I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm excited that I finally have my priorities straight. Like all these things that I was living for, clothes and eating out and all that is just gone out of my life, and I feel so free. It's amazing.
Yes. So that day you had come forward and you said, I had saved $5,200 to purchase my own first home for myself. The first house I buy is going to be for the extreme poor instead. The crowd came unglued, man. They came unglued. That was like the most courageous thing that someone could say in that setting. That, you know what? I've been selfish. I've been blessed. And the first house I buy is not for my house. And I've heard that since then you've bought 3 homes for the extreme poor, which is so absolutely amazing. Carla, thank you so much. And congratulations on the healing of that disease that you had. You know, you've cut your hours back. You've doubled your business. You've doubled your profits. You and your relationships are restored. You're not living under the stress anymore because you chose to listen and follow directions, because you chose to receive something so beautiful. And you also chose to bless someone who has no chance of being blessed in any other way unless someone like you had stepped up. So it is such an honor to talk to you. Thank you so much for your words of encouragement and inspiration that you gave everyone today. We have been blessed by your story by far. This is Dani Johnson. Next week, you're going to have Tim Schultz. You're gonna be shocked. Could you imagine being a father who is, you lost it all. Yep, you've got no money. You have so much debt. You're feeling like you're going to die. Your wife is telling you, get a job making $10 an hour. Do something. Do something. You have to fix this. So imagine your marriage is just at odds. It's painful. Like everywhere you turn, it's just pain all over the place. Wait till you hear how Tim Schultz turned his life completely around. You're going to be shocked when you hear his story. Tim, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hello, how are you doing?
So good. I'm so excited to talk to you. That you have been one of my absolute favorite people to watch over the last several years. I remember where I met you in Pennsylvania. I remember you filling out that application to come to First Steps to Success. I remember seeing you at your first seminar. I remember the man that you were so beaten up when I first laid eyes on you. And even the very first time that I got to pray for you, you were so beaten up. We got just a couple minutes left in this segment. Tell us what was going on in your life when we first met.
When we first met and when I went to my first steps to success, my wife and I had just gotten back together, and we were working out, really how to come back together in unity and work a business together and to grow together, in a good, positive way. And, there was a lot of people around us that sometimes we thought that they wanted us separated. And so there wasn't a lot of good, we had received, the reason why we were separated is because our marriage counselor at the time had told us to separate.
Wow.
And that was the only way that it was going to fix anything.
Wow.
And so we didn't have a lot of belief or we didn't have a lot of trust in the people that were supposed to be our trusted advisors at the time.
Yeah.
And so, meeting you in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and all that God did to make that event happen.
Seriously. It was a moving of the heavens and the earth by far.
Right.
Seriously.
And, having that happen, and then, it's like, it was confirmation that this is the way we need to go. And to be honest with you, I went home that night, and my wife was like, okay, that's the way you feel. And what was really awesome is at that time, I received a contract, an ongoing contract that pays a healthy sum to us per month, and allowed us to be able to, I'm like, this is what we need to put towards our education.
Wow.
And my wife agreed to that.
Wow.
It's just amazing. And that job is actually coming to an end here. Probably what I will bill out for July's work will bring that project to a close.
Wow.
So I'm just thankful for, what God has done in this time. But when I came, I literally was a broken man.
Yeah.
And, our marriage before that was just a strife-filled marriage. It's not like my wife and I are not the type people that, we're throwing stuff and stuff's falling off the walls and we're yelling and hitting each other and that.
But just striving against each other and striving with each other is exhausting. It is. Like when there's contention between you and your bride, there's unrest in your soul. And your home is not a place of rest. It's not a place of solitude. It's not a place of relaxation, but it's just a place of horror. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to continue with more right after this.
Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Prior to getting started with DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, we were spending absolutely every dime that we made. We were really struggling financially. Since plugging in to First Steps to Success just 4 months ago, we started a brand new business that is doing very, very well. We've paid off $4,500 in debt, but the most important thing is my relationship with my husband has improved dramatically. I mean, we have so much more fun together. I don't know about you, maybe your finances, you're doing great. Maybe you're debt-free. Maybe your relationships with your spouse, with your family are great. But if not, if you have some areas in your life that feel a little out of control or there's things that you need to work on, I highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success as soon as you can.
Prior to being dragged out to First Steps to Success, I was hopeless. I had no point to life. It was a day-to-day existence, working a job I despised for people I didn't respect. Deeper and deeper debt every year. You just couldn't get on top of it. I just had no hopes or dreams. none at all, and there was no point to life. But since coming out, we paid off $280,000 worth of debt, married the woman of my dreams. I came to love my job and the people I work for. I have all kinds of hopes and dreams. I get to watch them happen every day. I don't know what your life is like, there's probably tons of hope. You probably know why you live and you got places you're going, but if you don't, you need to sign up for First Steps to Success. You go to DaniJohnson.com and you click on it and be here, because your life will not be the same if you do.
Prior to First Steps to Success, I was drowning in debt. I was terrified of my bills, and I wanted to travel, but I never had the money. And since coming to First Steps to Success, in the last 14 months, I've paid off over $18,000 in debt. I've gone on 6 vacations, and I'm not terrified of my bills anymore. So if you want to learn some proven strategies to really learn how to connect with people, take your life to the next level, all while having a total blast, you need to get registered for the next First Steps to Success today.
Prior to coming to First Step to Success, we were totally struggling, totally under the weight of $640,000 worth of debt, making $20,000 a month, but living paycheck to paycheck. So when we came here, and I realized that it takes a totally different skill set to keep money, to create wealth than it is to make money, I have totally turned around our lifestyle. We have paid off $640,000 worth of debt in 2 years. We are debt-free as of June of 2013. I don't know where you're at. You might have all your finances in order. You might have a wonderful life. Your marriage might be all perfect and your kids are behaving. But if not, if one of those things is lacking, you gotta get here. Book your next event. You need to be here. You will not regret it.
In your face and in your corner. You've never had a coach like this before. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Imagine you've lost your income. Your marriage is a mess. Your wife and you are striving against each other, or it's your husband and you are just striving against each other. There's just contention. There's not love. There's not peace. There's not harmony. There's not passion. Maybe there's not screaming on the outside, but the screaming is definitely happening on the inside. You know, where you and your spouse are hugging the sides of the bed. This is kind of where Tim and his beautiful wife, Jamie, found themselves before First Steps to Success. The finances were a mess. The marriage was a mess. And there seemed to be no hope. Their so-called trusted advisors, including a counselor, said, you guys need to separate from each other. That's the only way this is going to work. Terrible advice under their circumstances. So, Tim, how did it feel as a man to have your wife striving against you and being contentious with you?
What was the hard part was it felt like I was in business alone. Like I was trying to, as you say sometimes, slay the dragon myself.
Yeah.
You know, I felt as though, you know, everything, the whole weight of that world was on my shoulders. And, you know, it seemed like at the time that I didn't really get thanks for, I didn't feel a thankful heart for bringing home a check when the check came home.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then when the checks weren't coming, that's when I really heard about it, you know. You know, we need this, we need that. And it's like, I know we need this and that, you know. You know, we need to pay our taxes. We need to pay everybody.
Right.
And it was a rough time.
Yeah.
You know, you feel honestly very depressed, very worthless.
And when I met you in Pennsylvania, that's what I saw. You were just beat up. You know, it's like the finances were giving you an uppercut to the jaw. You got kicked in places where you shouldn't be kicked. And your mind was you were just tired, exhausted, and beaten up. In fact, the picture that I saw was you were literally down on the mat for the final count. And you and your wife then found the money to come to First Steps to Success. And what happened as a direct result of plugging in to DaniJohnson.com, first steps, creating a dynasty. You guys have been consistently tapping in over the last couple of years, and I have watched you blossom as a man, as a warrior, as the head of the house. And I've watched her, who is such a beautiful woman. You guys have beautiful kids. In fact, you had another kid as a direct result of this whole thing. What happened? What was the changes that you saw immediately, and then overall, what changes have happened?
Well, one of the big reasons why we weren't succeeding financially is you talk about, the laws.
Yep.
If the law of promotion, the law of,
Yep.
all the laws that God has financially,
Yep.
and we were breaking them all in multiple ways, really. And so changing that to obeying the laws, and also my wife and I becoming in agreement and becoming, focused on a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was the common goal? What was the common goal?
The common goal was we will work on this business.
Mm-hmm.
One of our, together, one of our friends, he was an accountant for us for a while. He's like, Tim, you need to do what you're best at. And Jamie, you need to come beside him and do the things that he needs you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was some of the best advice we had received. And for a long time, she didn't believe that she could do that type of work.
Wow.
A lot of the things that were lacking on our business was the paperwork side.
Mm-hmm.
And she picked that up, and she did that for the last 2.5 years. This year, we hired an accountant that takes care of all of that for us
Mm-hmm.
in amazing ways.
Yeah.
And we're thankful for that. But at that time, when we did not have the extra to put out to pay an accountant.
So she stepped up. So a role was
Well, she
identified
stepped
for
up.
her, right? A role was identified for her, and a role was identified for you. And of course, the
Right.
decision. So coming out of First Steps, you made the decision, we're going to build our company together. And you guys have a roofing company, correct?
Correct. We do commercial roofing, and we specialize in roof coating.
Right. So you both identified roles, and you began to work at that together. What was another thing that you saw coming out of First Steps to Success?
It put a belief that God can do these type things. God can turn things around, not just for everybody else, but for me.
Yes.
I saw people that applied the principles that you teach,
Yeah.
and I saw people that paid off way more debt than we had accrued.
Mm-hmm.
And, I saw this, and I'm like, well, goodness, if somebody can pay off $900 and some thousand,
Yeah.
we got a little shot to pay off, really. And I guess what it was is hope arose,
Yes.
from literally hope that was dead
Yes.
was now brought to life.
Yes.
And that, not only can everybody else do it, not only do God's promises work for everybody else, but they work for me.
Amen.
They work for us.
Yes.
And, it's just, after
There's
our
something
story,
powerful that happens when you get that revelation. That not only can it happen for everyone else, but it will happen for me. So let's fast forward. It's been 2.5 years. You guys have had another kid. Your marriage has been restored. Wow. I can see the love between the two of you. What has happened to your finances?
We are now 100% debt free.
How much debt did you pay off?
It was right close to $200,000 in 2 years.
Yes.
But a major part of that, at least 140 of it, was paid off last year.
Wow.
And that's some of the reason why we weren't at a couple of events, because literally it was just push, push, push. And we're just thankful that God did that.
Yes.
And,
so
amazing.
$200,000 worth of debt you paid off in 2 years. And what has happened to your roofing company that was failing when your wife was telling you to get a job instead of trying to build your roofing company?
Right. Our roofing company has flourished. I mean, it's it seems like God just keeps opening doors.
Mm-hmm.
sometimes God has given me the ability to be able to connect with people. And, sometimes just from the first meeting with people, they're like, okay, we want to go with you.
Yes.
And price no longer becomes the negotiating point.
Yes.
Which is totally amazing. There's a lot of peace.
Yes.
There's a lot of
joy and harmony and all of that. It's amazing. So your business has grown in the last 2.5 years. How much has your company grown?
The exact numbers, I haven't really kept. Maybe I should have prepped a little bit better for today. But it's just last year, I guess we had done an average of about $300,000 for the previous how many years? I mean, some years were better, some were a whole lot worse.
Have you doubled that?
Last year we did $865.
Hello.
And
hello, man. That is absolutely incredible. I'm blown away. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this. You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today. For families in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua, life is filled with fear and struggle. They don't have enough food for their kids, clean water is hard to find, and they're living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel on top of mining tunnels that could explode and sink at any moment. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming this village. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha to see how you can help. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org, and click on Santa Pancha.
Prior to Dani Johnson, I was struggling in my business. I was drowning in debt. Me and Crystal weren't doing so well either. In the last 21 months since our first event, I paid off $36,000. We actually got engaged, which was the best part, and my business made $90,000 last year. And I've given over $5,000 to orphans this year as well. So I can tell you that this has changed my life, but I want to recommend that you come to this event and learn as much as you can from Dani Johnson.
I attended a First Steps to Success event, and after the skills I learned there, I started a home business. I've made over 5 figures in 1 month. Actually, I've generated over $90,000, which is way more than I ever did working full-time at my other job. So we have increased our income, paid off debt. More than that though, we no longer have that pressure. It's just been such a blessing to my family. So, everything might be awesome in your life, but if you want to increase your income, pay off debt, improve relationships, live the life you've always wanted to live, I suggest you get to DaniJohnson.com and register for the next event.
After plugging into Dani Johnson, we made a covenant that we would either move forward together or we would go our separate ways. And in a matter of days, we sold his car, we bought our engagement ring. 5 months later, we were married. We paid for our wedding in cash because of the business skills that we had also learned from Dani. And we've since then more than quadrupled our income. And we've been together now, married for over a year.
And after plugging into Dani Johnson, we have paid off $196,000 in 13 months. My company has grown 90%, and I have relationships that I could never have even imagined with the ones I care most about around me.
Prior to attending my First Steps to Success, we were drowning in debt. We had lost a business. My second marriage was going down the toilets. I had no time and relationship with my son, and I was just a mess, and I was burning out fast. After attending First Steps and been to a few events, we have a thriving business that's gone international. We have paid off 65% of our debt. We are not just making money, but we're saving money and we're learning how to grow money. I have got a marriage that's gone from barely surviving to thriving, and I now have 2 children with whom I have so much time. I am not burnt out, stressed out, and all I can say is you've just got to get here.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Could you imagine being Tim or even Carla? Come on, look. Carla doubling her income. Tim nearly quadrupling it, $300,000 to over $800,000, and it's grown even beyond that. That he told me on the break. That can be you. And when you have that revelation that, hey, if it can happen for others, it can certainly happen for me. Why not you? Why not do the same exact thing that they have done? How? Your first step is go to DaniJohnson.com. Go there now. Don't mess around with this. If you're already there, click on the top on events and just click add to cart. Register today. There's no reason why you need to stay in the situation you're in. Or even like Carla, that she didn't even know that her life was as a mess as it was. She just got used to toxic relationships. She got used to and settled for 100 hours a week. She just settled for a mediocre business. And so did Tim. He didn't see that there was a way out. And even the advisors are saying, you need to move out. You and your wife need to be separated. That was terrible advice. They did not know that what was on the other side of First Steps to Success was a growth of their income, Carla doubling, cutting her hours in half, Tim and Jamie tripling their income. They didn't know that harmony was on the other side and healthy relationships. And there's so much more that they both are involved in that we just simply did not have time to talk about. What life do you want to live? The one you're currently living, the one that is not all cracked up to be what you thought it would be, the life of facade, trying to tell everybody on the outside everything looks great, but on the inside it's a mess. Let's get real. Let's solve the problems. Let's put you on a financial path that will shock you and everyone around you. Let's put you on a path where your marriage now is so harmonious and passionate that others are coming to you asking you for advice. I want your marriage. How do I do that? Your life story is being written. What chapter will you write for the next one? DaniJohnson.com. Again, that's DaniJohnson.com. Go there now. Click on events. Click add to cart. Register today. I don't care what the excuse is. I don't care if you don't have the money. The money will come. You'll figure it out. I don't care if you have to work. You'll figure it out. Those problems will get solved. Don't let fear rise up and keep you stuck. It's time to punch fear in the face, take your next step, follow these simple instructions, and watch your life turn into everything you always hoped it would be. And then you will be someone that we're interviewing on the next Dani Johnson Show. I hope you enjoyed today. Please let us know. Write a comment here at the bottom of the show if you're watching it on our website, or if you're not, come on over to Facebook or our website and let us know how you're doing. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson YouTube channel. We're super excited to have you here. And every single week, we're gonna make sure that you get awesome videos for your business, career, making more money, saving money, annihilating your debt, as well as helping you to handle those really tough problems that you have with people at home, as well as at work, and taking those really good relationships you already have and causing them to flourish and grow. All you have to do is click that subscribe button right down here Click that and you'll be subscribed to an amazing community of people, as well as some great videos that will help to improve your life. Thanks so much for being here. Subscribe now would be good. Just click it. I know you can see it. It's somewhere down here. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.